Welcome back to another episode of 5-5 Sports. It's been a crazy week in the NHL and the NBA, and we'll cover all of that in just a second. Well, let's talk about the NHL playoffs. It is starting on Tuesday, and we have a lot of good games and a lot of good series coming up. Unfortunately, the Maple Leafs won't be in it, but maybe it's fortunate for Leaf fans because we probably would have gotten smacked by Tampa Bay, to put it lightly. But we will start with the series going on in the NHL. We'll start with the first one, Columbus, Tampa Bay. Matthew, I'll start with you. Does Columbus stand a chance against the fast-paced, high-powered Tampa Bay team?
I think they do. And I'll tell you why. Because we've seen this before. We've seen Columbus shut down Tampa last year. They swept them completely. And then Tampa last year were the favorites.
Mm-hmm.
And then this year, Columbus is off the high from being Leafs. They have that momentum. The last game Tampa played was a loss to Philly that knocked them out of the first seed. And I do think I do think Tampa is still a threat. Tampa is still a great team, like, no question there. But I think Columbus will walk away with the series in the game 7 victory. I think the
Um,
defense in Columbus is good enough to.
hmm.
It's a system that's able to shut down offensive teams like Tampa.
I completely disagree with you. I think I'll go Tampa Bay in 6. Columbus has a bit of momentum, and I think they'll take off 2 games, but one Tampa Bay has that sweep fresh on their mind, and I can't see Columbus beating them again. This is the worst Columbus side than last year. Korpisalo is playing great hockey, but Tampa Bay's attack is just so much better than the Leafs, and they're going to be scoring goals for fun, I think. Not for fun, but I think Tampa Bay's going to be scoring a lot of goals in that series. Kucherov, top 5 player in the league, complemented by Steven Stamkos. You got Braden Point, and there's a bunch of guys I can name. But I think the one difference that not the one difference, but a key difference from the Lightning and the Leafs, so they have Victor Hedman. Victor Hedman's a guy that's going to eat up 25 minutes, and when he's on the ice, you're probably not going to score. Just a terrific defenseman, Victor Hedman. And the only way Columbus wins this series is on special teams. They have to, one, keep out Tampa Bay's power play, and they have to do much better on their own power play. We saw they went 0 for 12, I believe, against Toronto, and Toronto's PK isn't very good. Tampa Bay is going to get their fair share of goals on the power play, and if they do want to win Columbus, they have to convert on their own man advantages, because you saw against Toronto, they kind of sat back. They allowed Toronto to come in their zone, but Tampa Bay is too well coached, they're too smart, and they're too skilled to be beaten that way. So I think Tampa Bay in 6, maybe 5, but I think 6 is fairly realistic for them. And that's my prediction. That's how I see that series ending up.
Here's the thing: a
Mm-hmm.
defense like Columbus, the system is built to stop teams like Tampa Bay. That's why if you see what they did to the Leafs,
But
and
here's
you
my counter. I think the way the Blue Jackets won is they just kind of they took advantage of their chances, and that's not going to happen against Tampa Bay. They got their 1 goal a game, or they scored maybe 2 goals a game. Offensively, they're not great, and you have to score against Tampa Bay, and I don't see them scoring that many goals. I know they lost Panarin. That's their key guy. I'd say their best goal scorer is Oliver Bjorkstrand. They do have good players. Pierre-Luc Dubois, we've seen, very good. But it's just, to me, Tampa Bay is just a better team overall, and they're not going to allow what happened last year to happen again this year. I think Tampa Bay, again, in 6. I'm usually good with hockey predictions. I'm very confident in Tampa Bay winning that series in 6.
you'll see.
We will do the other Eastern Conference series that happens on Tuesday, Boston, Carolina. Um, any upset for Carolina? I think Boston's going to be the heavy favorite for that one.
I would say I think it's gonna be a harder series than people would think it is, but I think it's gonna be Boston 7 as well. Another game 7.
I'll go with Boston 6 simply because that first line. Does Carolina have an answer for that? James Reimer, former Leaf. Maybe he'll have some nightmares about Bergeron and Marchand. Not so much Pasternak, as he wasn't playing back in 2013, but with addition of Pasternak, I think close to McDavid. I think McDavid just edges it based on skill, and based on the fact that his line isn't as good as what the Boston has in that three-headed monster. But God, Boston, I hate them, but they're so well coached and they're just so talented and they know how to win hockey. So for me, Boston is six, maybe five or six for Boston.
I
I
think
just
Boston's by far a better team. I just think
yes.
Carolina has a depth to make it a fight.
Hmm.
But that being said, I don't have any doubt that
Yeah,
Boston will take the
it'll,
series.
it'll be competitive, but I'll go with Boston in six. We'll stick with the East. A series you'll have your eye close on. I think Philadelphia got a very good series in Montreal, but we saw they played well against Pittsburgh. They play with heart. They play with determination. They do a lot of the dirty things right. We talked about stuff the Leafs don't do. Montreal does. Going on the boards, keeping pucks in. But Philadelphia, obviously, great season, very good team, very balanced team. They got four lines that you could throw out there and rely on. So, do you see any? You're probably not going to see a possibility of an upset, but how many games does the series go? Because you know what, I even though I've given you a lot of crap over the years about Philadelphia, I think this is a quick series. I think again, I've been going a lot of 6 games, but I'll just say Philadelphia in five because I think Montreal is going to be just a little bit exhausted from their series against Pittsburgh.
I completely agree with you. I say Philadelphia in five. Reason why I
Yeah,
don't say like a sweep is because as a Philly fan, I never just assume Philly will sweep any team really,
yeah,
and I
and
do think Montreal do have the ability to give Flyers a hard game for 1 or 2. But I think it'll be. I agree with you. 5 games.
yeah, you don't see many sweeps in hockey. Yeah, five or six for Philadelphia. I just think Montreal doesn't have that depth to compete with the Flyers. And finally, I think the most competitive series that the first round Eastern Conference is going to display the Islanders versus the Capitals, two very good teams. How do you see that one ending up?
I'll give it to Washington in 7. I'd say
Yeah.
Islanders. They have. It's kind of a thing where it's good, great offense versus great defense.
Hmm.
I think Islanders had the ability to shut down Washington's offense, or not shut down, but to limit
Limit, yeah.
how much they score. But I think
Um,
Washington is still just such a good team, and
yeah, they're a
you
terrific
can
team.
never really bet against Ovechkin, like especially in the first round, like this quickly.
Yeah. But you know what? I will. I'm gonna take the Islanders in seven, just because there's always a surprise in hockey. There really is. And I've agreed with you over the last few series, but I'm gonna disagree with you on this one. Even though Washington is favorites, I think the Islanders just play such great hockey. Barry Trotz has he's putting a system in place for those players where they could really excel. They really show their creativity, and they have a lot of talent up front. And in the defensive zone, they're very organized. They know what they're doing. They play smart. They play hard, and all year the Islanders kind of flown under the radar a little bit. We've all known they're a great team. Washington, again, will be a great challenge for them, but I will go just with the surprise. We saw the Islanders last year sweep Pittsburgh, so I will give them another first round win. I will take them in seven. We will move on now to the
But
Western Conference.
one
Oh,
thing,
sorry. Yeah.
it's funny you say that about Islanders because that's kind of the same argument I had for Blue Jackets against Tampa.
I think Tampa Bay, every hockey game is different, and you can never predict each hockey game. It could go so many ways. You get a bounce here. Goalie makes a big save. But those are going to be the two closest series out of the East. I just think Tampa Bay has that fresh in their memory. Last year's getting swept, getting embarrassed by Columbus. I mean, that is just embarrassing. They're cup favorites, and just to get swept like that, I don't think anyone had Columbus beating them last year. If you did, probably a wealthy man today because not many people could have seen that coming from a mile away. But I just think there has to be a surprise in hockey, and I think Washington is a slightly better team. They have the championship pedigree. They've won. They're a solid team, but the Islanders are kind of that hungry team. They're young. They're hungry. They play great hockey. And Barry Trout's terrific coach. He's been winning for many years now. He's been doing it. It was Nashville, right? Barry Trotz was in Nashville, yeah. So I think the Islanders have a good coach. They have good players, great defense. They have 4 or 5 just solid defenders, something I wish the Leafs had. But I think just for the sake of making a bold prediction, the one that I think may cause an upset is the Islanders over Washington. Again, it'll be close. I think it's going seven. But in a game seven, the magic words in all of sports, game seven. And if it goes there, anything can happen. I'll just give the Islanders the edge because why not? Why not give the Islanders an edge in that one? I will go to the West. We will talk about Chicago, Vegas. Vegas, obviously the favorites, but Chicago played a great series against Edmonton, upsetting Connor McDavid and the Oilers. But do they have any chance against a much better Vegas team?
Because Chicago has such a great series, I won't count them out completely, but I do say Vegas in six. Like I do think that Chicago put up a fight, but I think Vegas is such a better overall team. They've been playing better. They've done so well in the round robin, and then they've been great all season. So I think they have the edge over Chicago.
I don't like picking sweeps in hockey, but I will. I'll take Vegas in four. Just what I've seen in the round robin games from them has just been terrific. I think they're again great team, and they have a lot to prove. They've been to a finals, lost to a Washington 2 years ago. It was 2 3 years ago, but uh, again, I think Vegas are just going to show their dominance. If they win the first two, I think they win the last two. But if Chicago do split the first two, then I think it goes six. But I think those first two games are going to be crucial. Chicago, and if they have any chance, I think have to win game one. And but we'll see. I think Vegas in four. But again, Chicago, well done to them for beating Edmonton. No one really gave them a shot, just like Montreal against Pittsburgh. But both the 12 seeds advanced. And we'll see how they fare because again, in hockey, anything can happen. Calgary, Dallas. That I think that's the most even series out of all the Western Conference ties. How do you see that one going? Because I only see one way, and that's to 7 games.
Yeah, I agree completely. It's going to definitely go 7 games. It's one of those. It's a matchup where you think you don't have either team pegged as making it to the finals or winning Stanley Cup this season. Like that's the funny thing about it. But I do give it the edge to Calgary. I think they'll win seven. I think they're a really talented team. I think they had the talent to go far in the playoffs. I just don't think that they will. And yeah, I think they'll take it on seven.
The one edge Dallas has over Calgary, I think, is goaltending. Ben Bishop, fairly good year. I think Calgary's had shaky defense at times. Calgary, offensively, no one's gonna doubt what they're able to do. Johnny Gaudreau, Monahan. They have a bunch of guys that score goals, win games for you in Calgary. Dallas are just a little better defensively, and I always take the better defensive side. I think it goes seven, and you just flip a coin. Here you go. Should we flip a coin? Heads, Dallas. Tails, tails, Calgary. But I mean, that's what it's going to come down to. I think it has to go seven, and anything in a game seven. I'll just give that to Dallas. Maybe they get Ben Bishop shut out in a game seven, but we'll see. That's going to be a fairly close series. There's only two more we have to cover. We will go Arizona, Colorado. That's going to be an interesting series. I think Colorado obviously has the edge, but Arizona will for sure put up a fight as they beat Nashville. I don't think many people expected them to do that. But here they are, Arizona, Colorado. How's that one going?
I think Arizona will put fight each game, but I don't think they'll put fight in the series. I think Colorado will take it in game five.
Yeah, I'll take Colorado in six. We'll simply move on from that. I just think Arizona doesn't have the firepower to kind of
Yeah.
uh,
Colorado is a team that I
to
predicted
trouble.
to go
Yeah,
to the finals.
they don't.
So,
I just don't think they have the offensive firepower to kind of
and Colorado's such a
upset Colorado in a series.
Colorado's such a well-built team right now, and they have
Yeah,
been playing well as well.
yeah, they're hungry. McKinnon, Landeskog, and Mikko Rantanen. The only way Arizona wins that series is if they limit that line, and I just can't see them limiting that line. So for that reason, I'll go with Colorado in six. You said five. Either way, we both have the Avalanche moving on. And finally, Vancouver, St. Louis. Vancouver, they've been a good story. A young team. They played well this year, but do they have any chance against defending champions?
I'll give it to St. Louis in seven. I think Vancouver is a good
Really?
team. I think people are actually sleeping on Vancouver a little bit because they're such a young team, but I think that young talent is ready to make a strong playoff push. That being said, it being St. Louis and being the defending champion, I think they're just a much overall better team.
Yeah, and St. Louis seems hungry. They always seem like they have something to prove. They don't ever settle for what they have, and just for that reason, I'm gonna pick St. Louis in 5,
Oh,
maybe 6, but I'll go with them in 5, just because I believe they are the stronger side and they'll play like it throughout the series. And that's been our hockey segment. We are gonna switch over to the NBA, and there's been a lot happening in the bubble. You know what? I think we're going to avoid talking about the Raptors this week because they have solidified the second seed and they will play Brooklyn. We'll just get a quick prediction for the Raptors in that series. They've had an interesting week. They played Milwaukee where they rested Giannis. The Raptors rested Lowry Van Fleet. They came away with a win in that one. They got killed by Boston, but that just seemed like a one-off game. Missed a lot of easy shots in Boston. They played very well over 4 quarters. And the other game was against Memphis, where Toronto clinched the second seed in the East in that one. So they are confirmed to play the Brooklyn Nets. Do you see anything other than a sweep or 5 games in that one?
it's gonna be a sweep. Like
Yeah.
Brooklyn isn't the full Brooklyn team that we would wanted to see this season.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like Kyrie's not here in bubble, and then Kevin Durant's not able to play.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that Raptors, there's the more talented team, the more well-behaved coach team, and I don't see the series going far.
All right. Any chance for Brooklyn?
I want to say I was gonna say a sweep as well, but just to give a just to have a little bit of a different answer, I do think maybe it can go to 5. I do think they have maybe a game, especially in Brooklyn. Oh wait, sorry, what am I saying? They're not in
Yeah.
Brooklyn.
All
Let
in
me restart.
Orlando. Yeah.
They're in the
Well,
bubble.
Florida, Dario.
Yeah.
Wrong one. But I'll go. I would say 5. I think the Raptors should ease through it though.
Yeah. 4 or 5. Nick Nurse, Coach of the Year. If he doesn't win, I'm gonna be a little on edge because he deserves it. What he's done without Kawhi Leonard, no one gave him a shot, and even now they're still trying to, you know, uh, diminish what he's done. Terrific job from Nick Nurse, easily Coach of the Year for me. Raptors in 4. We'll preview the game a little more next week when it's closer to game one. But there's only one. It's gonna be only one winner in that one. Basketball's a lot easier to predict than hockey, and the Raptors better team. No Kyrie, no Kevin Durant. No wins for Brooklyn in that one. Let's move on to the drama that's been happening in the NBA. And we'll start with Damian Lillard starting some Instagram beef with Paul George and Patrick Beverly. We're not going to dissect it too much. I'll just ask you guys, whose side are you on? Are you on Lillard's or are you on George and Beverly's?
I do think Damian Lillard makes a point by saying like Paul George, he is not the main guy on his team, and he hasn't been since he left Indiana. He
Yep.
was the second player to Russell Westbrook in OKC, and he's the second player to Kawhi in Clippers. So for him to talk trash to Damian Lillard, who sent Pat Beverly home a few years back and sent Paul George home last year, I just don't think he has much to back himself up.
I'll contradict you a little bit just when you said Paul George and how he's kind of second fiddle to Russell Westbrook. I think Russell Westbrook's, bigger superstar, just he's kind of the bigger personality, the bigger name. I think Paul George is a better player. Again, superstar in the league. Could score, could defend, great size. There's not much he can't do, but I would say on the Clippers, he definitely is second fiddle. Kawhi Leonard, whether you want to argue him or Giannis being the best player in the league right now, Paul George is not Kawhi Leonard. And I completely agree with Damian Lillard. I don't know why Paul George is running his mouth when Damian Lillard completely ended his career in OKC with that incredible shot over him. And we have to remember, Damian Lillard also sent home Patrick Beverly, which he mentioned in his press conference. Pardon me. Yeah, Damian Lillard, he's cold blooded. He's a killer. He's a terrific scorer, top 3 point guard in the league. For me, if he had more talent around him, then they'd be a much better team. CJ McCollum's a good piece, but he's nothing more than an all-star to me. A great player. I love CJ McCollum. I love his game, but they just don't have that, other talent to surround them that would kind of let them win a championship. They've struggled this year with injuries. Portland, no one's been, as unlucky. as Portland.
And Damian's been having a
But
career.
yeah, Damian Lillard has every right to kind of defend himself because come crunch time, come playoff time, he sent them home single-handedly with shots he basically ended their play. I mean, not basically, he ended their playoff runs.
Yeah.
So I don't know why Paul George is running his mouth. He went to win the championship. I have nothing against it because everyone wants to win, but I don't know why he's trying to start beef with Damian Lillard after missing 2 free throws. Doesn't make sense to me. And Damian Lillard has every right to kind of stand up for himself because his career and kind of what he's done in the playoffs when it matters most. He has a pedigree over George and Beverly, 2 great players, but Damian Lillard, different animal, cold-blooded. Just when it matters most, his reasons in the fourth quarter is Dame time because he does not miss when it matters most. We will go on and we'll finish off our NBA discussion. What are we going to finish it off with? Fuck me.
There isn't much, is there?
What do I want to talk about? Fuck, I had something in mind. Yes, thank you. We're going to talk about the Hall performances. We're going to finish off the NBA discussion this week with all the amazing individual performances. We'll start with TJ Warren. Is there something in the water in Orlando? Why is he popping off? TJ Warren out of all the guys. What a start he's had. Not start. What a he's been great for the last 5 games in the bubble. Miami slowed him down a little bit, but he's allowed an off game after what he's done for Indiana in the first 5 games.
I have no explanation as to why TJ Warren is going off the way he is. I'm impressed and good for a guy and good for Indiana. They need this kind of a player like him to kind of give him the push over teams like Miami and teams like when they want to make a deep playoff run, they against teams like Toronto, Boston, Philly, or not really Philly because they're heavily injured now. But
yeah.
I think it's really good for their momentum, and I think, I don't know what else to say. I'm really impressed by the way he's been playing.
No explanation. Sorry.
I gotta say, he has been impressive, especially since the restart. And you know what, with the way with that 53-point performance against Philadelphia, everyone was thinking, okay, well, there's no way you can repeat that. You can keep going, but then he put up 34 against Washington, 32 against
a lot
Orlando.
of points. Yeah,
it's crazy.
I think he's been averaging 34 in the bubble. The number could be a little bit off, but for sure he's been averaging in the 30s in the bubble. Yeah, I mean, who could predict TJ Warren's been doing this? I mean, he's not a safer side. I mean, he's always been a good basketball player, but this is something remarkable. And finally, I think we have 2 more things to discuss, but we'll talk about the Phoenix Suns. Who would have thought they're the only undefeated team in the bubble? 6-0. Devin Booker. I'm just gonna say he's been impressive throughout. The game-winning shot. But the moment that just shocked me the most is, I don't know if you guys saw this, but when he pulled up from about half against OKC in the Monday afternoon game, and the net barely moved. It was the end of the shot clock. He just threw it up, and then on God, the net just stood there. Phoenix 6-0. Do they have any shot of even making the playoffs? Because they're going to be in that play-in series, and let's say hypothetically they make the playoffs. Do they have any chance of beating the Los Angeles Lakers in a series?
Here's the thing. I want to say, given assuming things are normal circumstances, I assume no, because the Lakers are just an overall better team.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, if Devin Booker keeps playing the way he does, I wouldn't count him out completely because he's been playing incredible this whole time in the bubble. I think his lowest score game was 20 points, I think, but he still got 10 assists that game. And then ever since then, he's been scoring about 30 points or higher.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things when you see players going off with this, you kind of want to see how far they can go in the playoffs.
Exactly, yeah.
But again, it's the Lakers, and though they haven't been playing great in the bubble, it's still the Lakers, and when they come playoff time, it's always a different story.
If the Lakers play Phoenix, I guarantee that series is only going to go one way, and it's Lakers in 4. Devin Booker, I mean, he's been nothing short of spectacular. And they've had a lot of good performances. Everyone's been chipping in for Phoenix. You don't go 6-0 against some of the teams they do without other guys stepping up. I think Ricky Rubio has done his job. Cam Johnson's been fairly consistent throughout the bubble games. I think he's been in double digits every game except for one. I'm just checking the stats quickly. But no, the Lakers are going to outmatch them. They're just a veteran team. They're young, Phoenix, and they'll get better. And they just need a guy to support Devin Booker, but without another guy, the Lakers are going to kill that team in 4 games. But I mean, they've been great. Phoenix has been nothing short of spectacular, and I'm looking forward to seeing, if they can get that 8th seed over the likes of Memphis and Portland. This has been another episode of 5-5 Sports. We upload again every Wednesday at 8 o'clock, so check us out if you like us. Just tell your friends about it, tell whoever. We like your support, so just keep doing your thing. Until next time, see you guys.
Thank you guys for listening.
Bye-bye.